Alright, we're going to start our third set, or third part of the Systems of Equations and Inequalities module. So you should have this module to start with for taking notes. Second page of the module is just the same table of contents that we've been working with all along. I have the schedule laid out here. So today on Thursday we'll do the 5.8 task. Your homework is the set, go, and ready parts of the task. I think those are probably rearranged and they're in this order instead of the ready, set, go order that they're normally in. And just so you can plan ahead, our test on the entire module will be Friday the 9th. So make sure you get your re-quizzes done before this date. Alright, so we're going to start on this page. Shopping for cats and dogs. So this task is about solving systems of equations. Consider this new scenario. One day you go shopping for milk and bread. You buy 1 gallon of milk and 2 loaves of bread, and it costs you $7. On another day you buy 2 gallons of milk and 1 loaf of bread, and it costs you $8. So out of that just those two statements, can you figure out how much each item cost? You need to set up a system of equations like we've been doing in the past, and that's what I'd like for you to do. Let's, just so that we have some consistency in our work, let's define some variables. Let's let m equal our variable for milk, and what else did we have? Let's let b equal our variable for bread. And before we try to do this, let's think about, what does that represent? Does this represent how much milk you're buying, or how much it costs? Is this how many loaves of bread you're buying, or how much they cost? In the problem, they told us we're buying 1 milk, 2 loaves of bread, or 2 milks and 1 loaf of bread. So it's not unknown how many we're buying. What's unknown is how much it costs. So use that. I'm going to change this to milk cost and bread cost per loaf, milk cost per gallon. And that's what we're trying to find out. How much does each item cost? So what I'd like for you to do is take a moment, try on your own, to come up with your equations using m and b with these two sentences, and come up with a system of equations that we can solve for this. In fact, you can go ahead and solve it. I'm going to pause the video. I'd like you to pause the video and do this work. Okay, so go ahead and hit pause. You can come back when you're done. Okay, so basically I've set up two equations based on these sentences. The first sentence said 1 gallon of milk and 2 loaves of bread equals $7. Remember, the m and the b represent how much each of those cost. The second sentence said, when I buy 2 gallons of milk, at whatever their price was, plus 1 loaf of bread at whatever its price is, that's $8. We also have to assume that the price doesn't change between these 2 days that we went shopping. I'm going to use substitution to solve this. We did this in the last few tasks in Module 5. So I'm going to take the first equation and solve for m. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 2b from both sides. Subtract 2b gives me 7 minus b. So 1m equals 7 minus 2b. So I solved for, the price of milk. I'm going to substitute in this expression for milk into this second equation. So I'm going to sub this in to the second equation. So I get 2 times this expression for milk, 7 minus 2b, plus 1 bread equals 8. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish solving this. I need the distributive property. So this is 14 minus 4b plus 1b equals 8. Combine like terms. We have 14 minus 3b equals 8. Let's see. I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. Come up here. This gives me negative 3b equals, what's that, negative 6. Divide by negative 3 on both sides. I get b equals 2. And it should be positive because you can't have negative prices. So B is 2. What was B? The bread cost per loaf. So the bread is $2 per loaf. Now I need to find out how much the milk was. And you can use either of these original equations to figure it out. I'm going to use the second one because it only has 1 loaf of bread in there. So I got 2 milks plus $2 for a loaf of bread equals 8. Subtract 2 from both sides. I have 2m equals 6. Divide by 2 on both sides. I get that milk costs $3 per gallon. So that is the solution to this problem. If you need to stop and revisit that, then now would be the time to do that. Just pause the video and go catch up or relook at your work. But if we're ready to move on, let's do this. Let's apply these ideas to our pet sitting business. So Clarita is upset with Carlos because he's been buying cat and dog food without recording the price of each type of food in their records. It's important when you're in a business to keep track of what your spending is. Instead of that, Carlos has just recorded the total price of each purchase, even though the total price or the cost of the purchase included more than one type of food. Some of one, some of the other, but he doesn't remember how much of each. So now Carlos is trying to go back to figure out the price of each type of the food by reviewing some of the recent purchases. It's kind of like in our milk and bread example. We didn't know the price individually, but we could figure it out. So as Carlos is examining the first set of purchases, he realizes he can figure out the cost of individual items by reasoning about the numbers and the assumptions and the assumption that the price stayed the same for each shopping trip. We'll keep that assumption in place. Clarita is surprised that Carlos can find the individual prices without using tables, graphs, or algebra. Well, in our milk and bread example, we found the price, but we used algebra for sure, right? Could have built a table too. Algebra worked pretty nicely. So, in this task, we're going to have 5 scenarios to consider. So let's see, your job is to see if you can reason about each of these shopping scenarios the way Carlos did by figuring out the cost of each item purchased. Try to do it without tables, graphs, or equations. Wow, that's a big task to do. So let's just take a look at these before I ask you to pause the video and take time to do it. 5 scenarios, so here's the first one. One week, Carlos bought 3 bags of Tabitha Tidbits and 4 bags of Figaro Flakes, and it cost $43. The next week, he had 3 bags of Tabitha Tidbits, 6 bags of Figaro Flakes, and it cost $54. So based on that information, figure out the price of 1 bag of each type of cat food, and explain your reasoning or be ready to talk about how you did that. Okay? So, I want you to figure out how to do that. And remember the instructions were, try to do it without graphs and tables and equations if you can. So just write out your reasoning. Be ready to explain your reasoning. So make sure your notes are good enough that you can follow your reasoning on what you did. So I'm going to leave that to you for now. And you'll be able to look at my set of class notes to check my solutions to these problems. One thing I would like to point out, if you'll notice these next few pages are divided into 2 parts. I would like for you to stick with just the top half of the page as a space to show your work on the 5.8 task. If you notice at the bottom, we're going to revisit these again when we get into task 5.9. So that's our first scenario. I would like for you to try them all. Scenario 2, he buys Bruto Bites and Lucky Licks for the cats, and it's a similar type of problem. The third scenario I want you to do is about leashes and brushes. He buys 6 dog leashes, 6 cat brushes for $45, and then the next later in the summer he purchased another set of those. See if you can figure out how much those cost. Scenario 4. Some treats for the dogs and cats. 2 packages of dog bones, 4 packages of cat treats. Cats didn't like the treats, so the next week he has 3 unopened packages of cat treats that he returns, and he buys more dog bones. So he gets a refund for the cat treats, And after that refund, he only had to pay $1 for his purchase. So this one's a little unique. You have some pluses and minuses you have to deal with here. So a little more challenging. Scenario 5. Carlos has noticed that because his purchases have been similar, it's been easy to figure out the cost of each item. His last set of receipts is a little harder to do. He found a cheaper brand of cat and dog food. And they come in 2 sizes, small bags and large bags. So he bought small bags of cat food, small bags of dog food at one price. They went through the bags of food too quickly, so he decided to he needed to get more food. He got 3 more small bags of cat food, 3 more small bags of dog food, and it cost him $14.25. Based on that, find out the price of each bags of food. I guess these were the small bags compared to the bags of food he bought earlier in the summer in a prior task. Alright, so your job right now is to go back through these 5 tasks and figure out how much all these items cost in each one. Do the work on the top half of the page. And, persevere through this. Even though it might feel hard, make sure on each of these 5 scenarios you have some answer that you can go with. And use whatever method you would like. So, right now I'd like you to pause the video and do this. In fact, I'm going to end the video here, and then I'll pick up on the rest with a new video. Good luck.